Hello, everybody. Apologies, we had some technical difficulties there for a second, but we're here. We're here now. That's what matters.
It happens.
That's what matters. We're here now.
It happens.
Okay, kitten. Let's get you that wheel spin, huh? Let's get you that wheel spin.
Spin the wheel like it's no big deal.
All right, kitten. Get a curse starter, ada. Ada, ada. Ada, ada. Ada, ada. Ada, ada. There you go, kitten. How's everybody doing today? Hello, Ellie. Hello, kitten. Fun day, fun Monday. You all survived your Monday. Congratulations. Monday sucked.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I dropped something on my foot today.
Oh, what'd you drop?
A crate.
No. It's not good.
I mean, I've dropped like a 40-pound thing of concrete on my foot, so like, this is kind of nothing.
You had a steel toe boot, right?
I didn't have a steel toe boot at this job, but like at the last one, yeah.
Oh, dang.
Steel toe boots. Well, steel toe shoes are so heavy.
Have to be.
Yeah. Heavy metal. Now I know you're doing it. Now I know you're not doing it to because you're laughing.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay. I gotta get my damn phone out. Let me get my phone out real quick, so I can do the Twitch chat. Or the Twitch chat. Yeah, so we're getting really close to finishing Kikawashi soon. I hope. I think. I'm not sure how many more streams we'll need for it, but the end is nigh. Just know that. It's nigh. It's nigh.
It's nigh impossible.
Nigh impossible. Who is out here? Okay.
I've been making new emotes for myself during work.
Well, that's good.
I'm working on another special project.
Ooh. I like the sound of that.
What?
A special project. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into Higurashi now. Whoop.
Yes.
Oops. I am more bigger than index. Let's move index.
I'm big.
Beak.
I'm big.
Beak.
I'm big.
Oh, Fumble wants a wheel spin. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll get that for you, buddy. Let's see if Fumble wins.
I love Fumble.
Ooh, lucky Fumble. You get to pick a Steam code. Congratulations, Fumble. Congratulations, buddy.
Wait. Oh, I don't think I have enough to do an applause.
It does one on the wheel.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Go ahead and pick a game there, Fumble. Oh, Kitten Shop. Yeah, okay. Let's spin the wheel for you again, Kitten.
King gets all the spins.
Oh, fucking Kitten. Oh, pick a Steam code, Kitten. Just barely. Alright, Kitten, you know the drill. Steam codes list. Alright, go ahead and pick one, Kitten. Put desktop audio back up. Okay. And then I
How
gotta
was
share
your
the
day
screen.
today? Oh, good. You shared it with me. I thought I was gonna have to entertain for a little bit longer.
No, you were not. You did not. Haha.
I can't entertain. I'm not entertaining.
Huh?
Huh?
What?
Huh?
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 Okay, we're gonna continue. We left off in Fragment Hell. We were close to the end though, like the last two
Yeah,
pages.
we're like really close to the end of the Hell of Fragments. Somehow I feel like Rika's. What?
Oh, we did this one. Okay.
Oh, okay, like I just had like a moment where I was like really afraid that we didn't do any of them and they didn't save, and I was gonna cry.
Fuck no. Revenge of Mio Takano is required. I think this. Yep. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. Thank you for the alert, Funkel. But finally, I'm at the starting line. Beginning from zero at last. Yet, seeing all those colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless, but I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Ide Institute, because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Ide Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maibara family moved to Hinamizawa. It actually wasn't certain that the Maibara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the property for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play that field. It was the trigger for the Maibara family's move. It took me so long to find that one out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I realized that meeting Keiichi's father at the field was the cause. Keiichi Maibara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He used the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him there. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Satoko and Satoshi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryo Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryo Sonozaki understood. Oryo herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from outside. That was why lots went on sale, so the Maibara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryo hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And Renarigu provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maibara. Was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maibara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Renarigu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rena was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game to June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Renorigu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Rule Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands met only because they reached from both sides. Keiichi and Ren are the ones who taught me that. Miyana's the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Ide is also an important piece with a significant function of his own. Feeling empathy for Santoko, he is the most influential piece on the board we call Hidemazawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. Keiichi and Ren's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Ide, who has the strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Ide had held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is, in fact, an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, we can win against Takano's will? I've seen Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 had been so hard to shake no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards its pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces are different, because I've given up on finding...
Thank you for the host. We got you front row seats.
Oh, heck, who hosted me? Thank you, kitten. The weight of our game pieces are different because I've given up on fighting while she's been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer, Oishi, once showed me the possibility of becoming a strong ally. But he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend. So until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Rena constitute a chance to change fate, maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. Yakiseke. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamazawa. That curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late. Far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? Final rule. Rule Y involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. Uh-oh, we got the game board, not the pieces.
Yes.
Ready to play chess. We're almost there.
I will defeat you.
The game board must be set up. Oh, okay. We need these. Okay. Okay, Fragment Okinakushi. That's the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
In order for Keiichi Marbara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friend, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know just yet. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Marbara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyu. He didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral. Tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that, though. It was short. What the fuck?
These ones are short?
I guess we're gonna go over every chapter and like what went wrong and how it's not supposed to go wrong. But Tanegashi's chapter 2. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse of the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. The curse or the Sonozaki family? No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X and misunderstanding it for Rule Y, it's rolled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us of the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Satoko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important. Challenges Rule X and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Oh, a short one.
Sometimes you just gotta learn from your mistakes, man.
Yeah. This game piece has a very important meaning for us. Because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of the June of 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments, which prove we could defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X is almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maibara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as the Hinamizawa syndrome and dance in tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point in the trigger for everything else. Oof. Oof.
Sometimes you just gotta have hope.
Yeah.
And change.
Fragment from the Tanegashi chapter. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi Maibara becomes the key himself to pry open this padlock. And as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece, and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. The piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. but now I think it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. Huh.
I want to eat my squash.
Squash.
I don't like squash.
I don't mind it.
I like, especially like yellow squash. I don't like it. My mom used to like make it all the time, and then just like I've grown to dislike it.
This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. And therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rural Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo, and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Marbara defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. Goroshi. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight. The things we need to learn. All are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach to fighting for it. The outcome we gain through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Marbara learned that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano's too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Okay. That's another page down, I believe. Last page.
Excite.
Excited. 2 more.
I am excited.
The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. Morika Furude lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat. He was hardly a match for Keiichi Marbara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and the fact is more valuable than anything for this. Keiichi Marbara taught us a lesson. There is no need to subject yourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to is created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of her own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, and then challenged the final rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, was just too powerful. She didn't even give us any mercy. She squished us completely and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll or die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again. With the will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Last one.
Mm-hmm. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we can take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. Or you could probably know by smelling the fucking box, if it's got a rotting cat in it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously exist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board. In the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Higurashi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Until I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. How do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. Uh-oh. Shit. Leftover fragments.
Miracle.
What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. What you type in their index?
Nothing.
Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to make it match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Matsubiyashi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
no. Oh no.
The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, with the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furita and her friends' stories tragically ended in June 1983. It's a mild interference, an order crackled through your headset. All units. The chief has a message for you also, listen up. Good work, everyone. The local police have given us 15 minutes to wrap this up, but I'm only giving you a few seconds. Don't let a single person escape. The main target is a diplomat. Don't let him suspect you're a cop, just grab him. But make sure you leave no injuries. It'll lead to problems if you do. They're dirtbags who hide under the diplomatic immunity to deal with the local gangsters. They launder money from drug dealing and force people into sex trade to pay off high interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Ugh. Shitbags. Normally this would be a simple case. What with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them.
Yeah, Hammer, you can't sue.
But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and those Japanese gangsters. Yakuza. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Force's classified radar and missile technology secrets.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. And today was the day that operation was set to go. 2 men at the front stairs. 2 men at the underground entrance. 4 men at the back door. All suspects are believed to be armed. 2 more than usual, huh? It'll only take 2 seconds more for him. He never shows anyone mercy. Can you hear, Akasaka? You're on point. Be careful. Okay, let's move. You want to do Akasaka Index?
I do want to do Akasaka.
Okay.
This is Akasaka. I copy. Let's go.
A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. He was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivete that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. This place, members only. Do you have membership card? Akasaka pulled a card out of his ass. It was a card that was very difficult to forward, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card. It's a library card or some shit. Akasaka-san passed the bouncer at the entrance. He's going down the stairs. Come on, Akasaka. At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to the den of the evil. Welcome. May I see your membership card? The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep. Beep. Akasaka-san is having a problem. Did they change the system? If Akasaka is encountering trouble, we'll change plans. Secure his safety pronto. The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding.
Oh, don't finger a gun. Ew.
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 The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the car reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up. Thank you for waiting. Please head on inside. The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as a go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle of their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open the door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that. Akasaka, entrance secured. Commence operation. The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door, too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken on immediately by nearby investigators who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. The raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely.
Time to kill some
He's
bitches.
Fucking Matrix shit right now. The 2 guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones, and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. Let me turn the music up a little bit.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
just a little bit.
And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The 2 guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterward came crashing down on the floor. Jesus Christ. Knocked him the fuck out. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was his fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer.
This is Akasaka. I'm going in.
Wait! Wait for your backup! Akasaka! The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the brouhaha at the entrance.
Everyone, get down!
As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if they're trying to proclaim their innocence. But all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there are a few people who are trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. He jumped onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol. And scattering glasses with ice cubes made the icebergs glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. The foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent. But Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack. But it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches were so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. What?
What is he, freaking Captain America? Holy cow!
You got the fucking Captain America syndrome?
Serum, yeah, he's with the Captain America syndrome. Serum, like, fucking, he's fucking ripped.
Fucking god mode, dude.
Someone give him a vibranium shield.
The man's arm warped in a strange way, and the moment after, the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground injured. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. The man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture.
Oh wow, an orbital fracture? That means he broke his eye socket.
Oh god.
Mm-hmm.
All bad.
Yeah.
Seeing as this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that Akasaka was concentrating in front of him. He wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he was built up to this day taught him. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their move from behind. Agasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punches struck against the Xbox. His left arm retracted, and at the same time, he arched his left leg around beautifully to crash into the man approaching him. Fucking rocket sucker robot!
Amazing.
A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken. But Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed an incisive right blow to the side of the sailor's head. The man slammed into the wall, and bounced off and went rolling onto the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized that there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of nearly 2 breaths.
Put your hands above your head and get down on the floor. If you resist, we will open fire.
Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. You shouldn't touch me! It'll lead to an international incident. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. Aren't you a policeman? I have diplomatic immunity. I am a diplomat.
Good for you. So, how much did you get paid, huh?
This will be an international incident. I'll be calling the embassy. Whoa! With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall next to the diplomat's head. Oh, Jesus. Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of his head. As soon as Akasaka had pounded the wall several times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor.
This is Akasaka. Target secured.
Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the club, they would have escaped. Or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired.
Stop. Oh my gosh, my cat's caught in my microphone. Give me a minute. There we go.
Come on, hurry. The local police will be here soon. Put them on the truck. Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. The diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said Pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Now wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with them. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of things regular police couldn't deal with. Akasaka, are you okay? Come in, Akasaka.
This is Akasaka. We're on our way.
You've done it again. Report to the chief to get reamed out later. Akasaka-san, you sure are a demon. 5 men within mere seconds? That's not even karate anymore. Your fist should be categorized as lethal weapons. It sure was lucky that none of them drew their guns, though. Knowing how brutal Akasaka-san is, you could have turned them into honeycomb.
Shut up. Don't make me sound like an assassin. I show no mercy against evil. That's all.
The pigs they just caught were no average criminals. They committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fists was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be. Come on, round them up. Akasaka, make them hurry. The local police will get here quickly.
This is Akasaka. Understood. Don't you guys hear? Hurry up!
Roger. Command, we have 5 injured here. Please have meds ready. There wasn't any trace of left of Akasaka's old naivete. He had grown to be the vigilante ace of his department. Certified ass kicker now?
Penguin. Look in chat.
What's in chat?
Good chat. Good chat.
Oh, that's a new emote? Oh, that's adorable. Head pats. Pat, 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 pat. Patchy, patchy, patchy. Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. Ew. The dojo was located in the middle of a downtown in a small building. It wasn't that big, and there weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this whole dojo he picked. This was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. Every time Akasaka punched the sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch. It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered and the dust welled up in the air. It was the perfect blow embodying the concept of 1 strike, 1 kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas, and then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows. Akasaka-san works at the police department. Really? If someone like him is a police officer, I don't want to do anything bad. Still, his concentration sure is amazing. He never gets tired. On his days off...
Since Akasaka's a police officer, I do want to do bad things. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Edex is like, I've been a bad, bad little girl, Mr. Police Officer.
I think we're gonna need handcuffs over here, Akasaka.
Just make his dorky ass laugh. On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment. And from what I've learned is that there is no way to reach it. And a path one takes to reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose. Karate? The rumors say that his wife is dead. Supposedly, he does karate to forget about that. Really? That's different from what I heard. I heard he couldn't save a girl on the job, leading to him to realize sweetness or something like that.
Hey, I can hear you. Quit talking about other people in train.
Yes, sir. There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon. Akasaka-san, we're going to get some lunch. Can we get you something too?
Sure. I don't care what you get. Thanks.
Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building.
Shit. My focus dissipated because they were talking about me.
But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of the cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, if just a little.
Yeah, there's no breeze coming in because Index is like at that open window looking in like a perv.
Fucking heavy breathing. Just as I said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Of course, losing it against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too. But more than that, the pain from Yuki's death was what made him start. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamazawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return, she wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi and called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. He was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was a turning point in his life. If he had believed that she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything. She died. Visiting Hinamazawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point of his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would never have died. And he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamazawa that he heard about from Oishi was put on definite hiatus because of the disaster. But it was apparent to both of them there was some conspiracy behind it. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in his dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done. So in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently, so that if the same thing is to happen again, he will be able to save a person in need. Uh-oh, kitten fell asleep. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was gonna give him some pat pats. What else do I have pat pats for?
Hold on 1 second.
Pat. Oh, where's my penguin pat? Pat pat. There you go. Pat pat pats.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
It's all too late. Everything is already over. Yuki died in an accident. Hinamizawa was destroyed in the gas disaster. And Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. Shit! I was too obsessed with Yuki's death and couldn't hear the girl's pleas for help. No, if I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yuki's accident too. Damn it. Damn it. Shit! As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he never thought of praying to the gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. It was something he was capable of doing himself. He would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole village would wish for the same thing.
Please. Please give me another chance to go back to that time. I swear that this time I will save both of them.
At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance. As if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off that shrine.
Thank you, Akasaka. We needed your thoughts.
Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him.
We must wish for a miracle, but no must wish for a miracle too. Otherwise, a miracle will never occur. Nice. Everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur. Unless both sides reach out their hands. Won't meet in the middle.
Oh, Bourbon Brisk, how you doing, bud?
Baka, baka, baka.
Bracket.
Oh, baka. Oh, baka, and die.
Bracket. He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like something very, very important.
Index doesn't exist.
Akasaka?
Oh, hey, Doombringer, what's up, dude?
Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum.
Welcome in.
If you wish for it, I'll grant this miracle. And it'll be a miracle for us too. No,
Are we
we're not
crying
crying yet.
Not
No.
yet.
No, we're not.
Probably will later, though.
Oh.
Most definitely.
Finding those broken fragments gives us the chance to create an even greater fragment. Your resolve on its own may greatly influence everybody's faith and intuition, intent as well, and the words.
Can you turn back time to that day?
No, can't do that. The only thing I can do is let you notice. To let you notice that things you can't learn from one fragment, you can learn from others. So, all you have to do is return to this broken fragment to where it belongs. That's a big miracle itself. Although, you wouldn't even notice it.
Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I spent asking you for help. But finally, at least you. So I'll say this one more time. Please help me. No. Please help us. Yeah.
Yes.
So we brought God with us. Another God with us. A fighter. We brought a fighter God.
We brought Goku himself.
Yeah, sick.
That's a section.
Oh. So we're going back to this one? Okay. It's weird. It was long. It really was long. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that can go up against the Kano and her minions in the game of fate in the June of 1983? My voice is a little low? I got my mic turned up all the way. I don't know.
Maybe turn it up manually on the Streamlabs.
I did.
Okay.
All the way up.
Okay.
Am I too far from the mic?
I don't know. Can you fit your hand, you know, the little Y in sign language? Can you do that from your chin to the microphone?
Yeah. But I always have my mic.
Microphone?
Yeah, my mic's on my desk.
If you can touch your chin and your with your thumb and your pinky to your microphone at the same time, then it's the perfect height away from you, so you're not getting feedback and you're just loud enough.
Yeah, I've got like a terrible setup for a desk right now. Like it's cluttered with shit. So I have my mic like right here.
Same.
Yeah,
I know.
you need a better fucking setup. Much better setup.
One day.
And it's everything we have that can go up against Staccato and her minions in the Game of Fate in June of 1983. I think, maybe, we have everything. And last but not least, Hanya, it's you. The game volume is a little high. Okay, I'll turn that down.
I know, I always feel like I'm really loud on your stream.
Okay, I turned the volume of the game down a little bit. The time you have left to be a piece is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Now we begin. I've put in hundreds of years just for this moment. Uh-oh.
Now, let's roll a nat 20.
Or nat 1.
No.
Critical fail!
Critical fail. Keiichi died of smallpox. Your party died of dysentery.
It's all coming together as an achievement unlocked. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She had been running, trying to not to get involved in any type of match because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that means she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning the game. In other words, the more frightened we were, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance on a scale tips with just a little weight. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win. So I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I'd been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was just there to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same to exist. Therefore, she existed.
Hanyu exists?
What?
Hanyu's real.
Uh-oh.
Hanyu exists.
Okay, everyone.
Homeroom is starting. No more chit-chatting. Class rep, go ahead. All rise. Bow.
Good morning.
Morning. Sit down.
Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Chi-sensei is normally arrives in the classroom right away, but she's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? The rumors were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Chi-sensei gave a cue, and a girl peeked in the room timidly. Uh-oh.
Girl! She's so cute! Oh my god, I just want to take her home with me.
Okay.
She's so cute!
Okay, Rena.
I just want her to be my daughter.
Index is all fucking Rena now, Jesus. Channeling her into Rena. That's funny.
Oh.
This is the new student, Hanyu Furude-san.
Oh, she's an ancestor. Oh, shit.
Nice shirt.
She's going to be joining us starting today. No.
Wow!
Wow.
The voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and fill the classroom.
Rudy. Is she related to Rika-chan? Yes, she is. She's my distant relative. That's quite a surprise to even me. I was uninformed that Rika had relatives.
Hey, this old man didn't know either. Well, 3 families are rather complicated.
I wouldn't be surprised if I had distant relatives myself. But she sure does look related to Rika-chan. Oh, my cutie. Oh.
All my classmates had gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rika-chan is rather carefree, but this Hanyu seems like the complete opposite. She's more like a shy woodland animal. The exact type that Rena loves. Look, see? Rena's ready to swallow her whole.
Oh no!
He's like, oh!
No!
She's like a fucking
more.
snake. She just opens her mouth and jaws her hinge and just like, oh!
Hinges her jaw and eats. No. No. Okay, Hanyu-san, please introduce yourself. Settle down, everyone. Go ahead, Hanyu-san.
Chi-sensei left the podium and encouraged Hanyu to take over.
She's so cute!
The even greater pressure, the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's very nerve-wracking to watch, though.
Oh, I'm Rika Furude.
Hanyu Furude.
I'm Hanyu Furude. Oh, I'm Rika's relative. She's my relative. Please be nice to her.
Rika-chan can tell that she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair. Which is why I decided to make it more lively.
Is she wearing Rika's clothes? That's super cute.
You're cold, Furude. Just like Rika-chan, huh? Now we have two Furudes in this class. And how about we call you Hanyu-san? If we call her Furude-san, Rika might think we're addressing her, don't you think?
We generally don't call each other by first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by a first name too.
Okay, it's decided. I'll call you Hanyu. I'm Mion Sonozaki, the class president. Call me Mion, okay?
I'm Stoko Hojo. Very pleased to meet you, Hanyu-san.
I'm Daika Tomaida. My parents run a tofu shop. Please come by anytime. I'm Suguru Okamura. Please ask me if you don't know anything.
Hello. Let's be friends, okay? What grade are you in?
Our classmates fell over each other to introduce themselves.
Your stupid booty.
Everyone tried to get her to remember their names so they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere is swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her.
I agree. I'll have to help her blend in to the class quickly.
Right. You were a new student last year, huh? Were you nervous on your first day too?
Yep. I sure was. Oh no. But me-chan and the others were so nice to me that I got used to class pretty quickly.
Purr. You weirdo.
You don't want your cat to purr?
No, I was putting my hand on his head and trying to get him to go the opposite direction, and he started purring. I gave him a toy. He's good now.
Well, yeah. To welcome a newcomer to the village is one of the 3 families' important duties.
You only mention the 3 families when it suits your purposes. But it's true that you all helped Tigi to get used to such a different environment.
In that case, does that mean that it's your turn to look after Kei-chan?
Yeah, I thought so too. Rena was a new student, but she looked after me when I got here. So it's my turn to look after the next new student. A new student always dramatically changes the atmosphere of a class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyu during his lunch break.
Hanyu's been there this whole time, guys!
Okay. Remember, you can only ask Hanyu 1 question each, okay? Why don't we ask her some personal questions so we can get to know her better? Let's see. Who will be the first to go?
What is your favorite food?
I like sweets. My favorite are cream puffs. But that's wonderful. I love cream puffs too. Is there a very good sweet shop in Yokinomiya? I'll take you there sometime. Okay, boys. Did you all hear that? If you want Hanyu to like her, you gotta get her cream puffs, okay? Not the cheap ones, though. Get her something expensive. Let's see, who's next? If there's no one else, I'll ask what color her underwear is.
Everyone kept asking Hanyu questions, and she looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for a new student. I remember this is exactly how my first day went. Mion and Satoko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. I noticed Rena watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She's probably remembering her first day too. Are you recalling what it was like?
Oh, yeah.
Were you thinking about something else? You aren't thinking about taking Hanyu home, are you?
What? Oh. No way. No, I'm not thinking that since Hanyu-chan likes cream puffs. And since I have some good cream puffs at home, that she could come over or something like that.
He was thinking of kidnapping her!
Oh no! I'm taking her home with me.
If she doesn't come to school tomorrow, it'll be your fault, Rena.
That's mean.
As we watch Hanyu and our classmates have fun, Rena and I laugh together.
Hey, Keiichi-kun. This sure is great, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Shame
It's-
if something were to happen to it, huh?
It's great to meet a new classmate.
No, not that. I mean, I think I've seen her a few times before.
Hanyu? Maybe you saw her when she and her family came to look at the area before they moved here. You sure have a good memory, Rena.
It's not like that. Hanyu has been here for a long time. She's been right beside us all along, watching us play together. For ages now. Huh? Is it just me? Didn't you notice Kiichi-kun?
No, I haven't seen her here before.
Oh.
So, are you saying that you've met her before, Rena? From what I can see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyu. If she's been that close to us, like Rena said, it's impossible that none of us would remember her. Are you sure? Besides, Hanyu is a transfer student. She couldn't have been here in this village all that often.
You think so? I swear I've seen her pretty often.
It's your imagination. Even Hanyu just said she was living far away before she moved here.
I mean, living on in another dimension might be considered far away. But I've seen her before. Oh.
Well, I gotta pee real quick. I'll be right back.
Don't you poop.
I'm not gonna poop, I just go pee pee.
Okay.
BRB.
Wash your hands.
Of course I'm gonna wash my fucking hands. Jesus.
Oh, I'm just waiting for the penguin to come back. I'm too mean. I'm a mean person. I'm sorry. Index was mean. Index was evil. It wasn't my fault. I was always this way. Evil is my second nature. How is everyone's day? I'm gonna fall asleep. Super tired after work. New job is killing me.
Okay, I'm back. Oh.
Welcome back.
Ooh, that was a good piss.
I'm not gonna dry my hands off, and I'm just gonna put them on your face and be like, "Teach me how to pee."
What?
After I wash my hands.
After you wash your hands.
After I wash my hands, I put them on your face and I go, "Teach me how to pee." While they're still wet.
Why?
I don't know, because it's funny.
That's nasty.
It's something that my family used to do to each other when we were kids, and I do it to my nieces and nephews now.
Well, I'm gonna tickle your feet.
No, no, you won't.
Why is that?
Because
Is
I'm
Index
wearing
Chan
socks.
a little ticklish?
Yes, and I'm wearing socks, so you can't tickle my feet.
Well,
What now, brown cow?
socks are meant to be taken off.
I see.
You
I have no rebuttal.
like touche.
I have no words.
Okay. You've read this yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm.
Rena looked like she was trying to remember more. It's probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it's the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before. Oh well, just forget about it. She's here now, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. She always seems so eager to join us. So I'm glad that she's one of us now.
Rena smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika-chan was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked that way. But as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it. Holy shit, what the fuck's going on?
Is that a prank or is that just like assault? I feel like some of Satoko's pranks are more assault than a prank.
I think it was a trap, a saw trap that like fucked him up.
See you later.
Now, these are the words that signal the best of time of the school day. It's the same way at work. Best times at work are lunch breaks and leaving. Am I right?
I don't know. One of my jobs, like best job I've ever had. We watched Thor during work, like Thor Ragnarok.
Oh really?
We painted paintings.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We had nothing to do, so we just did other shit instead.
As
Me
soon
and
as
my manager.
As soon as the last period ended, my classmates ran out of the room. Hanyu was popular all day today. She's Rika-chan's age, so all the lower grade students gathered around her. All the students like me and Mion didn't have a chance to get close to her.
Well, I'm sure you'd rather have a new student who's I'm sure they'd rather have a new student who's their age than a scary-looking older guy.
She like jabs Kiichi in the side when she says that.
That's right. You look so scary at first, Kiichi-kun. It was probably because you were so nervous.
Hey, that's me. I was trying to be friendly so I can get along with the class.
You were far from friendly. Slam me upside the head on your first day, Kiichi-san. Don't you recall?
That's because of how I was treated on my very first day. There was a thumbtack on the seat of my chair and even a frog in my desk.
We heard that there was a new student in the teacher's office, so we went to take a peek. We saw you there and you looked so nervous that Satoko must have thought that she had to do something to help you relax.
Yeah, Satoko's an idiot.
She's blonde, of course she is.
As you were out there, I was being considerate, you see. No.
Tisk, that's impossible. Although that blackboard eraser trap sure did help ease my tension. But Satoko will be so pleased with herself if I tell her that. So I'll never admit it.
Hanyu-chan must have gone home with everybody else. I'm sure she's still popular even after school.
Still, your first day at a new school is always really exhausting. I'm sure she'll sleep very well tonight.
I'm quite cute too. Okay, everyone. It's been a while since I've been busy with work quite a bit lately. It's time for a club meeting. I've It's been so long, and I've gotten rusty. Meep. I've been bored because I haven't rubbed a loser's head in a while. Oh, boys. I won't be holding back just because it's been a while.
You sure have pent up frustrations, huh? Great. That makes things even more interesting.
Heh. Everyone's motivated, huh? You better watch out. I'm in top form today. Mion, you're going to wish you went to work instead. Mion's had to work quite a bit lately because her uncle's shop is short on staff. So we haven't done any club activities for a long while. For us, club activities are the main reason we come to school. In a way, we live for these few hours after school. If there are no club activities, there's no point in coming here at all. So it only makes sense for us to be excited about getting to have a meeting again.
I guess none of us will be satisfied with an ordinary game. What should we play?
Mion looked into the club locker. I'm always curious about what's in that locker and how much of it there is. I swear there's more in there than it can realistically hold. Just then, we heard the door open.
Oh? Hanya-chan. Oh. What are you doing here? Did you forget something?
I thought she'd already gone home. Did she forget her lunchbox or something? It's not that big of a deal to forget a textbook. But you can't forget a lunchbox.
Hanyu, what is it? Are you looking for something? Maybe friends?
Anya looked at us apologetically. What is it? Are we in the way? She kept staring at us timidly. Are we sitting in Hanyu's seat? No, that's not it.
What is it, Hanyu-chan? Can we help you? Can we? Oh.
Rena talked to her, but there was no communication to be had. Almost like trying to have a conversation with a stray cat. What is this? Hanyu was fixated on something. I followed her gaze and found Rika-chan. Hanyu's apologetic gaze was directed at Rika-chan.
Oh. Yeah, I won't say anything. If you want it, you need to say it yourself, Hanyu.
With that, I finally figured it out. Hanyu wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it, so she wanted Rika-chan to say it for her. But Rika-chan told her to say it herself. In other words, we need to listen to what Hanyu has to say. We patiently waited for Hanyu to speak up. But when I think about what happened this morning, I realize this kind of silence makes her even more nervous. Rena, noticing that, talked to her in a sweet tone of voice.
What is it, Hanyu-chan? Can you tell me? I'll help you. Oh.
Sorry, give me 1 second. My nose is like super runny, so
Oh.
it's affecting my voice.
What is it? Can you say it one more time? Eh? Eh?
Brenna raised her voice.
What? let this old man too. No too. What is it? Are you sure? What could it be? Please share it with us all. Share with the class. Well, I want to join your club.
Oh my god, that's something I hate in anime. I'm not gonna lie. That shit's so loud and annoying. I hate it when they do that. They're like, you have a boyfriend? Oh my god.
Well, it's like a...
What?
So... I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you've ever, like, learned Japanese...
Uh-huh.
Like, they have a lot of expression in their language. So, like...
Is one of them?
Yeah, it's like a verbal question mark of what?
What the fuck?
It's like verbally saying,
I'm sorry. I am taken aback by what you've said. What is going on?
That's the proper English way to say it?
Yeah. It's like it's like if someone says something, you're like, hmm? Or like, hmm? They're like, eh? Nani? Eh?
Yeah?
Not eh? So it's like eh?
Uh-huh.
Eh?
Anya said it loudly, as if to shake off her embarrassment.
She's so cute! Now that's a surprise. Where did you hear about us?
Do you have references?
Do you have references? I need at least 2 phone numbers and a good repertoire, and none of them can be friends or family.
Yep.
Oh. And want to join? I want to join your club. Very good. You did a good job. Clap, 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 clap.
Rika-chan must have known that Hanyu wanted to join the club all along. Pachi, pachi, pachi.
Pachi, 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 pachi.
Mion folded her arms with a smile and stared at Hanyu as if appraising her. Needless to say, Hanyu was intimidated.
You're awfully reckless. Demeaned to mortal peril by choice. But our club isn't any old club. Only a select few are allowed to join. And that's only after passing a gruesome trial. Just because you want to join doesn't mean you can, you know. Look, Hanya-chan. Hanya-chan's club might look fun, but... Oh, you know, it's not that easy. Oh, I already know that. You have to win. Otherwise, you don't know what will happen. What might happen. Are you sure you're aware of that? And he's like, yes, motherfucker, I've seen you play 1,000 times. Oh my god! Not gonna lose. Besides,
Hanyu swallowed once and said what was on her mind. It sounded like a big thing to say for her, as though it had been much deeper meaning.
I hate to lose. I used to hate to lose. So, always ran away from every game. But running away is even worse than losing. I can't win if I continue to fight, despite the pain of failure. That's something I've learned. Hanyu.
When Mion realized that, although she looks timid, Anu is actually very courageous. She grinned. Looks like she's grown fond of her. Well, well. She's got guts. How about it, Mion? Why don't we let her try, huh? Let her take the entrance exam.
It usually takes more than a few weeks to determine if one has even qualified to take the exam. Yet she wants to take it on her first day. What should I do?
Mion pretended to be stubborn, but in reality, she was simply playing with her. If she actually didn't want her to join, she would have refused her right away. Of course, if Anu was bothered by this kind of intimidation, she wouldn't be able to survive in this club.
Just like Ren and Satoko said, our club is relentless. Winning should be your utmost goal. Always aim for first place. And if you come in last, you will wish you were never born. I'll do my best. The punishment for losing is actually kind of fun too.
Ani-chan, you've been watching the whole time, huh? You've been wanting to join for the longest time, huh? I got the feeling that Rena must have mumbled something like that. Come on, Mion, let her try. I got in by going through that too, you know.
Quite true. Let's see what Hanyu is made of. Have fun, Hanyu-chan. I won't hold back, okay? I won't hold back either. I'll only give you my best, Hanyu. Oh. Very well. Hanyu Furude, you're on. You're already allowed to take the entrance exam. Okay then. We'll have to choose a game that Hanyu knows how to play. What would that be? Oh. What about this? Dun, dun, dun.
Mion threw a deck of cards onto the desk. Does this mean...
Blackjack! We'll play a game everybody knows. How about Old Maid?
Oh man, I thought it was gonna be something fun.
Oh, that's fun.
Is Old Maid like Japanese version of Go Fish?
No, it's Old Maid.
Oh. I don't know what Old Maid is, to
Oh
be
my
honest.
God.
I have no idea what
Okay,
Old Maid is.
Okay. So the Joker is the Old Maid. And if
Uh-huh.
you have the Old Maid in your hand, you lose
Uh-huh.
if everyone's cards are gone. So whoever has the Old Maid left in their hand loses. If you lose all of your cards, you win.
Okay.
Okay, are we gonna play Old Maid? We gotta play Old Maid one time.
I guess so.
It's about deception.
Deception?
Yeah, you gotta deceive someone. If you have the Old Maid, You have to deceive someone into taking the old maid from you.
Oh. That sounds like Go Fish.
No, but Goldfish is a matching game. You have to deceive the other person from taking the old maid from you.
Bet I'm into. Or you're gonna bet on fucking Old Maid, kitten? Oh shit.
Bet.
Here she goes. This is exactly what I had to endure when I went through the Centric exam. This is the Mark Tile deck.
This is very... That's a very enthusiastic response. However, our club's version of Old Maid is a little different, no?
Most of the cards have scratches on the back, so by memorizing the scratches, you can tell what card it is. In other words, the more you've played the game, the better you are at it. This is simply our way of being mean to newcomers.
Honey, you can do it. This is a trial.
Yeah, but Hanya's watched them play this for like
Yeah, that's
hundreds
why.
of years.
That's why
Hanya's
she's gonna kick their
gonna own
asses.
them.
Go for it. Yay!
It sure brings back memories. I had to go through this too. It just happened recently, but I still feel so nostalgic. However, that doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. Just like how merciless they all were when I did the exam. I'll put everything I've got into this. Right, everyone?
Prepare yourself, honey-san.
Here we go. If you want to join, let us see what you got.
Roger. I'll call my hand from the right, okay? Ace, 3, 4, 7, Jack, and a queen. It's too late to hide now. Sorry, Hanyu. This is the Ace of Spades, right? I'm out.
What?
Oh, wait,
You
that's
get it, Hanyu? This is the enter exam of our club.
JT spinning his leftover card. Correct from our entrance exam into this game.
Come on, Kei-chan. Are you sure you should be saying things like that? On you, take Kei-chan's card on the right. That's what you need to win.
Oh, I'm done.
What? That's not fair. Okay, I'm dead serious now. How dare you make me mad? Hanyu, you want to go home on a leash, wearing shorts like with the tail on them on your first day?
My mind. Yeah, I think they would look better in young Casey-san. Oh, yes. I'm going to take him home with me. Oh, I'll make him do that punishment.
That's a great idea. I'm into.
Hey, you guys, why are you picking on me, huh? Fine then. I'm going to make all of you do it. What the fuck? What the hell was that? Those are
Action voice.
fucking car honking noises. What the hell was going on? What
Sometimes
the
when you
fuck?
just need a lot of action, you just have to go beep
You need a fucking car honking noise. Okay, this is the banquet section. Can you hear me? One more speech and then we'll move on to a toast. Are you ready? This is the back end. We're ready. We can hear everything from inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is finishing up. 10 bottles per table, okay? Make sure you serve your table smoothly. Young waiters with bow ties got bottles of beer ready for a toast. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting on each table, so there are at least a few hundred people here. The banquet room is teeming with excitement. There are many plates with different kinds of food on each table.
Yum.
A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter.
Oh, mine.
Also, along the wall, there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi.
Feed me. I need fish.
That's me. That's my job.
I love sashimi.
All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen, and obviously, they are notable people from different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly tells them this hotel holds a status good enough for those famous people. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually, people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests...
Yeah, I don't like hearing speeches before I eat toast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll see myself out.
Oh, Index, you've been a bad, bad girl.
Shut up.
You've been a bad, bad Index.
No, I'm sorry.
But the guests are actually excited with the speech. Well, maybe fervor was a pleasant way to put it. It was probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre. Anyway, Japan accepted the demand for unconditional surrender. And the day they did, the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of further business, the war ended that day, according to international law, and from that day on, there was peace. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, that would be an encroachment against Japan. No matter what the Soviet Union says, the Northern Territory are Japanese land, and it should be clear to everyone that they invaded illegally. Hear, hear! And now they want to settle by returning a mere 2 islands to us? Who do they think they're kidding? Listen, Habomai, Shikotan, Kunashir, and Itarup are Japanese territory. Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture. What do you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you settle for just getting half of their prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You'd have the entirety returned to you. Yet the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. This is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Return all the northern islands. Our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point. Thunderous applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. In all that hubbub, there were 2 people standing by the wall who didn't seem to fit in with the rest. They were wearing sharp-looking suits, and with a little too old to be called young men, were certainly young compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room. Why do politicians always tend to lean right or nationalist? And be so partisan?
That's simple. What politicians want most are votes. And votes are cast by their constituents. And not everyone over 20 actually votes. Voter turnout is highest among those who are retired and have free time. So, the elderly interested in politics monopolize the vote.
And that means the key to their election is whether or not they can secure the elderly vote.
The war only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war.
My mother talks about the air raids often. She used to live near Soidobashi, and she lost all her family in an air raid. She had to walk across the burnt fields all alone.
That's right. Our parents went through the war. They shed their blood, sweat, and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. We lost the war, but they believe that the war still brought about change that serves as the foundation for the peace that we have today.
I hear that a lot. That if Japan hadn't fought in the war, the Asian countries would still be Western colonies. There was no way we could have won, but we needed to fight in that war, or something like that.
This song is so boppy.
It is.
In that case, no matter how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad, and we should never again fight a war. But the war was necessary. That war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that generation lived.
I see. Politicians have to work hard to earn votes, huh?
However, it would be one thing if they were truly proclaiming their beliefs, but many of them are simply saying that to get elected. As long as there are politicians trying to win over what remains of the pre-war generation, this country's post-war era will never end.
That's how the ghosts of the war will pass their will onto the next generation, and keep things the same for the next millennium. They'll just keep repeating that the war was justified yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country even be freed from that cycle?
It's simple. Young people need to vote. Don't be fooled by war stories. Vote for those actually pushing policies. Realistic policies, that is.
Yeah. There are a few who can talk about some pretty unrealistic things. Akasaka-san, isn't that the F table?
There she is. Let's go.
The speech had ended and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation. The two men walked through the crowd and approached an old lady in a kimono.
Yes? That would be me. Who are you?
I made an appointment. Oh, sorry.
I made an appointment with you on the phone yesterday. I'm Akasaka.
Uh-oh.
Da, da.
Oh! Oh! My husband. Oh, wait, shoot. I may have thought something else.
She was drunk?
Oh, my husband worked so hard for this country. Even so. Ma'am, I understand what you're going through.
This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there had been a donation or not. So a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, she came up with the scheme to blame a sickly, elderly man who had already retired, with only a short time to live anyway. He was the perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying him had taken away his will to live. The only thing his wife could do was to simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the men about her husband's achievements.
If your husband is, in fact, innocent, a judge will rule accordingly. Don't worry. All false accusations will be cleared. I already know that. Because he's innocent. But he won't live to see this verdict. He worked so hard for this country, And this is what it gets in return. In return at the end. Well, that's what everyone gets. How can he rest in peace?
Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important.
That's you.
Oh, Akasaka-san, this is amazing. This records exactly how the money was moved. Akasaka gave him the signal to remind him that this wasn't his place to be looking through those documents.
Ma'am. There isn't any paperwork, is there? Any more paperwork, is there? No. That was the only thing in his safe. Please, use it to get back at those ungrateful bastards. My husband did so much for them, and yet they... Oh. Ma'am, you do understand that some things in these documents will implicate him, don't you? Yes, I understand that. One can't be honest all the time when one isn't a politician. I am his wife, after all. Thank you for your cooperation. Dying?
No, I'm fine.
Penguin dying?
I'm fine.
Did you swallow a bug?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I'll use this to expose the injustice that was done to him. Only one thing. May I ask one thing, though? Could you wait until my husband passes away before making this public?
The paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. Akasaka nodded.
I understand. You have my word.
As public funds were moving from Kasumi Gaseki, the funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies. But various ideas over those public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it and suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits from organizations that benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians hoping to earn those gains. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. That's how Japanese corruption works. These illegal pipes form bypass after bypass in Kasumigaseki, siphoning off public funds for their profit. To fund and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest. But eliminating illegal expenditures isn't as simple as all that. There are important people connected to these pipes, and when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect vested interests, but also because they're conscious of the damage those scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government. That affects the cabinet approval rating. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got, and could cause a collapse of the administration from shock. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organization of the 7 imperial universities, so he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time.
Tokyo!
His target was tightly knit, but he learned the wife of one of the organization's senior members bore strong resentment toward them after her husband was made their scapegoat and managed to contact her. And because of that, he had gotten his hands on extremely important information.
Look, that's where Mia jumped and killed herself.
You mean Shion?
Shion, yeah, Shion did it.
Yeah.
Shion. That's you.
Good work, everyone. We've almost gathered enough proof. What Akasaka-kun brought us is particularly...
Thank you so much for becoming a monthly pass holder.
Oh, heck.
He's nuts.
He's nuts. Thanks for the reset, buddy. How you doing, Jelly?
Jelly.
Jelly. What Akasaka-kun brought us is particularly shocking. You must have worked hard to get it. Great work.
Thank you.
The small meeting room was filled with boxes that were, in turn, filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with tramp writings, too. A creative being of sin on MS Paint? Oh, dear. Well, the artboard is your oyster, man.
Yeah, photos or it didn't happen.
A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was also filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated that they were police officers with a great deal of experience. Akasaka was one of those men. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on the case of the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson, he had been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once. Sir, thank you for stopping by. Thank you. You don't need to stand. Relax. I brought a wonderful gift for you all today. Kano, you'll get to your son's Parents' Day meeting after all. The meeting room was filled with sighs tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. I knew it. I thought it was about time. Shit. Agasaga's colleagues complained. They had been so close to getting to the root of the issue. They had such strong evidence. Agasaka, on his part, wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. Ooh, corruption. The new department was supposed to continue their investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. Damn it. What about everything we worked for so far?
It was just to see how much it hurt to push out the pus. They realized it would be too painful, so they decided not to treat the wound.
In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't yet mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors who had hesitated to expose the truth, but he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud. We'll organize what we have and hand it over to the other end later. Anyway, since you haven't had a day off in a long time, you don't have to wait until 5 p.m. to leave today. Please go home and get some rest. We'll talk about what's left to do tomorrow. Also, don't forget to use up your vacation time, too. Make sure you take a vacation and give a treat to your spouses. Yeah, a treat. Please come with me. That will be all. Yes, sir. Though his long, secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth with its resolution, he managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived.
Well, I guess we'll do what he says. Everyone go home and get some rest.
The not safe for work board. Oh. Oh. If you go home that early, you might find out your wife is having an affair, you know. Dumbass. You don't know anything. Agasaka-san and his wife are madly in love. Calls her every night from a public phone in a different building. I envy you, Agasaka. My wife is pretty cold. Agasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered his documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team, the next generation of hardware, and the defense agency. Yep. It was entirely possible that this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Agasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it, and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. There was also a list of retirees who are still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Agasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention.
The Yuriate Clinic.
As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. Yes, the Ide Clinic. When he was working on the case of the Minister Inukai's grandson abduction, he got into a scuffle with the suspects and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the Ide Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was, yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered her ominous prediction she made. She had predicted that if she didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he had remembered Yuki, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her. But he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful until he returned. Yuki had laughed and told him he was being paranoid, but that phone call indeed saved her from a calamity. Agasaka found out that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo, a few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day. But because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been one to step on that loose tile. In other words, Rika Furude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Agasaka still believed that he was able to save Yuki only because of Rika Furude's prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yuki, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling.
She's so cute.
She's so fucking tiny.
Oh my
Teeny
gosh.
tiny.
Little kids are so cute.
Agasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon, while still wearing that smile. That's right. She'd said something. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right. He thought she did say that. The 5th year. That's this year. The festival is... That's right, it's in June. If you remembered correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Agasaka looked at the calendar. It was June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who predicted Yuki's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years. If it had actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Agasaka wondered if Oishi was still at the Okinomiya Police Department. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he could confirm if Rika Furude was going to be killed or not with the phone call to Oishi. The girl who predicted her own death and muttered she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless, bizarre traditions of the village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider. She paid his reward in advance.
Okay.
Gotta get some water.
Don't die.
In the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident, he had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hidemazawa. He had to go save the girl who asked him for help.
Bam, bam, bam.
Oh, Okinomiya PD.
Hello, this is Kurado. Hello, is Kurado Oishi still working in your investigation department? If he is, maybe I could. May I talk to him, please?
Excuse me, may I ask who's calling?
Could you tell him it's Akasaka from the police headquarters?
Oishi was a very lively person, but he had been old even back then. Maybe he'd already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he'd since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh.
Like a bowl full of jelly?
Oishi-san, there's a phone call for you. Someone from the police headquarters in Tokyo. Tokyo? Who could that be? Hello, this is Oishi. What? My oh my. And how have you been? Oishi's theme.
Jazz. Is jazz?
Yeah, that fits him. Oh wow, we got a regular save point. Okay, Index, you want to go to bed? Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have a tip though? Nope. Okay. Looks like we're gonna call it here, folks. We're gonna call it here, folks. Thank you for coming to hang out. I think we're getting really fucking close. I think I know where this is gonna end, to be honest. If we can get to the fucking...
Takano's gonna still win. That's where it's gonna end.
Maybe. I'm not sure, actually. From what Ren tells me, that, like, we get to the end, right? And then we have to do it again, the tips again, in a certain order. To get, like, another, like, extra tip. I don't know what the contents are, or if it's, like, a secret ending or what. But we're getting damn close. Looks like Akasaka and Oishi are gonna shut everything down before it happens. Something like that, huh? These notes? But yeah, thanks for hanging out, folks. I need to make a... Well, I might change up how I do my scheduling. I'm not sure. I gotta think on it. I gotta think on how I do my schedule. I think I'm just gonna, like, put down what times I'll be streaming daily, or what days. But I won't really say what game it is. I'll just be like, I'll be here at this time. And then I'll just pick whatever the fuck game I want to play. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Because some days I want to play one game, some days I want to play another. And then I don't really realize it till, like, the day of, you know?
Feel it. Some
Yeah.
days I wanna play a game and then I end up playing League of Legends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that and because, like, I don't know if I'm gonna beat a game in a certain stream, you know? Like, I may or may not be close to finishing it. So then I have to, like, plan ahead what days I want to play what games, even though I might be close to finishing it or not. So I'd rather take it, like, day by day, I think. And people don't seem to, like... People don't really look at my schedule, I don't think, and go, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, you're playing a Pokemon this day. Oh boy, I'm so excited, People just come and hang out whenever they can, rather than, like, planning ahead.
For Higurashi.
Well, yeah, but you're my close mod in companion in streaming. And yeah.
I also like when you play horror games.
I like it when you're there with me. To get spooked. Those are fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah. I mean, I post on Twitter, "Hey, I'm playing this game, come hang out." That seems to get, like, the most, I think, response. More so than a schedule. I don't know, I gotta figure it out. But yeah, once I figure it out, I'll post something.
Figure it all out.
Figure it out. Figure it out. Alright, let's pick somebody to raid. Let's raid Ren. They're playing Hollow Knight. I love that. I love Hollow Knight. Akasaka saves the day raid or something.
Ooh, yes. Akasaka-san saves the day.
Akasaka.
Son punch raid.
Yeah.
That's funny. I don't know.
Akasaka punches everything to death.
He is One Punch Man.
Yeah, he is One Punch Man, the Higurashi version. That's fucking great. I love it. Okay, everybody, copy that down. That'll be our raid message. We're gonna raid Jaded Ren. They're a big fan of Higurashi, so let's go tell them what we think about what happened. Yeah. Yeah, they're playing Hollow Knight, and that was a fun game. I liked it. I played it a while back. But yeah, everybody have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Kisses. Mwah, mwah. See you next time.
Night.
Nighty night.